Hey guys, and welcome back for another short skills and drills yoga tutorial. Today's session is focusing on the L-sit. I'm going to teach you some warm-ups and the progressions to help you get into that final posture. For today's session, if you have some blocks or yoga bricks, these are the hard ones, they're a bit more solid, go ahead and grab them. If not, you can use objects around the house that look similar to this, or just use your hands on the floor and I'll give you options for that too. Parallettes are also a good option to use. Other than that, you don't need anything at all, so come and join me in a kneeling position in the center of your mats. As with any sort of arm balance, you will be using your wrists, so it's important that we warm up the wrists well. So the first good warm up for this is to interlace the fingers and simply churn the wrists. So we're just going to interlace those fingers and you're kind of drawing a figure of 8 with maybe your right hand first, getting into all those joints, moving that synovial fluid around, making sure they are covered completely. Once you've done a couple of rotations in this direction, you can rotate in the opposite direction. So push with the left hand instead, and that should change the direction for you. If this is too complicated, then feel free to just twizzle out the fingers or the wrists like so, however you want. Shake the wrists out and we'll just begin with a couple of other wrist options as well. So with any arm balance where you're pressing through the ground with your hands, it's important that you have good hand activation as well. So you should never have a flat hand to the floor. This is going to really upset your joints, your tendons, your wrists, everything, and maybe even transfer into the shoulders as well. So we need to make sure that we have that solid base before we even start. So a good place to start is to think about spreading the hands, gripping the mat with your fingertips. So press down through those fingertips and then think about connecting the base of your palm, so this area, the squidgy bit at the bottom just before the wrist, to the floor. So make sure all those pads, fingertip pads and palms are connected. From here, bring your shoulders above the wrist and then think about pressing down through the knuckles. So now not only are your fingertips and your pads connected, you're also connecting, you've got a bend in the fingers and you're connecting the pads of your hands as well, the base of your knuckles. So you're gripping the mat with those fingertips, pressing through the pads and the knuckles, and you should have a nice solid foundation now into your mat. From here, we're just going to rock back and forth over those wrists, just open out the joints and start to get them used to having some weight going through them. So just simply rocking back and forth as far as mobility allows, really focusing on having that hand activation, gripping the mat with those fingers. And then once you've done 10 or so forwards and back, we're just going to turn the fingers outwards and then do 10 or so side to side. So again, just make sure the heels of the hands don't lift. Make sure you've still got that same hand activation when you turn the fingers out sideways as well. And use this hand activation for anything you do on your hands. So handstands, planks, down facing dog. This is the position that your hands should be in to support your wrists, elbows and shoulders. And then finally turn the fingertips back towards the knees. And we'll do a few back and forth. So you'll notice in all of these positions, my knuckles, my fingers are bent, I'm pressing through my fingertips, my knuckles are pressing into the ground and the heels of my hands do not lift. So just go as far as mobility allows. And then finally just come and sit back on your heels, shake your hands out, make a fist with your hands, press those knuckles into the ground, and then we're going to roll the hands out as we bring the chest towards the floor and then press back up to make a fist again. So we're just going to do 5 of these. If you're doing a full warm up, you may want to do a few more. Make sure you're nice and warm. Again, just go as far as mobility allows, sit back on your heels and shake them out. Another good one for the hands as well is fist and flick. So hold that hands out wide, out long and just fist and flick. So you're activating and warming up the hands, ready to put that load through them. Finally, now we've warmed the hands up, we're going to warm up the shoulders as well. So a simple way to do this is a couple of scap presses to make sure that we're engaging all the right muscles and making sure that we've got good stability across not only the shoulders but also the centre back as well. If the centre back's not stable, a lot of weight and strain goes through the shoulders. This can cause a lot of shoulder injuries and is usually the main reason that someone gets a shoulder injury, because they haven't engaged enough of their centre back to stabilise the sides. So coming onto your hands under shoulders, knees under hips, we're just going to do 10 scap presses. So you're dropping the chest through the arms, squeezing the shoulder blades together and then pressing the ground away. The base of your body, so everything from the waist down, should stay exactly still. It should just be a very small movement in the upper body, pressing the ground away and sinking through, keeping those arms nice and straight. Just going to do 2 more. Last one. And then come back to a kneeling position. So we've warmed the shoulders up, we've warmed the hands up. This is also very much a core exercise as well. So we need to start firing up those core muscles. So a good way to start off with this, and this will also help your shoulders, is to come up into down facing dog, and we're going to do a couple of tiger curls. So you're going to come back into this down facing dog position. Again, remember that hand activation. With the shoulders, think about bending at the knees, finding that nice long neutral spine first to set yourself up in this down facing dog, and then pulling the shoulder blades apart. So you're really stabilizing your shoulder girdles and creating space across the upper back, but also releasing the neck from your shoulders too. From here, you can start to extend the legs, and we're going to inhale as we send one leg up high to the sky. It doesn't matter which, because we're going to do both sides. As you exhale, you're going to crunch that nose to knee, and then inhale to kick back. We're going to do 5 each side. So exhale to crunch. Think about planching over those wrists as you bring that knee through to keep the knee nice and high away from the ground, and really squeeze in to the nose. As you exhale on that 5th one, replace the foot to the floor and switch sides. If you need to, you can always come down for a mini break in extended child's pose and then switch sides. So inhaling to lift the other leg up high to the sky, and then exhaling nose to knee, inhaling to kick back. And again, find that planche. And then relax as you exhale, come down onto your hands and knees and sit back in child's pose for a couple of breaths. When you're ready, come to a seated position in the center of your mat, and we're just going to begin to really start to activate not only the core area, but also your compression zone too. So that includes your quads and your kind of thigh area here. So we're going to come into a tuck pose and then extend it into boat. So option 1, simply come to a seated position with your feet on the floor. And you can simply just take your hands either on the floor or out in front of you, and you can just tuck the knees in and then tap the toes. So lift and tuck. If this is enough for you, that's absolutely fine. If you want to take it up a notch, really think about, in all cases of this, not sinking into the lower back, keeping lifted through the chest. So keep that nice upright body. Option 2, take the toes to the floor, and we're simply going to lift one leg and then lift the other leg. So you're exhaling to lower, inhaling to lift. So you should start to feel this working along those core compression muscles. If you're okay with this, then feel free to do the whole movement. So again, you can have the hands on the floor or out in front of you. You're going to come into this tuck position, toes off the floor, and then you're going to extend both legs. Shaking is good. And then exhale to crunch, inhale to extend, exhale to crunch, inhale to extend. You can take a pause in each position, and we're going to do 5 of those reps. So we've already probably done 1 or 2 together now. So set yourself up, find whichever variation you want, keep that chest nice and lifted, really engage that core. And then when you're ready, inhale to lift, exhale to close, inhale to lift, exhale to close, lift, tuck, lift, tuck. and relax. We'll then start actually to work on the L-sit posture. So the first progression for an L-sit is to simply come into staff pose on your mat. So you're sitting in this seated position. You can pull the fleshy bits of your bum out from underneath you, flex the toes back towards you, and just place the hands on the floor either side of you. Keep the chest nice and lifted, lift through the crown of the head, engage the core, and just hold here for 2 or 3 breaths. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Then when you're ready, you can go ahead and grab your blocks or simply place your hands. We're looking about mid-thigh height. So I tend to use blocks. You can use them either this way, or this way, depending on wrist stability. And you're just simply going to place the blocks into the floor or push the hands into the floor, and you're going to lift the body up and pull the body back and then lower again. So you're just going to do 5 of these. And then relax. So now you've got the feeling of what's needed to engage when you're pressing away. So you're really thinking about that planching motion that you do in plank or in the tiger curl, but taking it into this seated position. So you're going to do exactly the same, but this time we're going to do it with crossed legs. So instead of having the feet out long and keeping the heels on the floor, what we're going to try and do is lift the feet off the floor. And for those of you that can make lotus pose, so with the feet threaded through on top of the legs, feel free if you want to do this in full lotus, if mobility allows, or just come to a simple cross leg position. So again, the blocks are going to go mid-thigh. So if you're on a mat, just be careful that the blocks aren't over the edge. So you might just need to cross your legs a little tighter, so make sure that they don't. And we're just going to do 3 seated lifts. So you're going to press into the ground, lift the hips off the floor, and then see if you can squeeze the legs up too. Hold, and then lower yourself down. So you're going to inhale to lift, and then lower. Last one. So if that was enough for you, feel free to stay there with that progression, do a couple more, maybe aim to get to about 10 of those. If you want to take it further, let's start to play with the transitions between this cross-leg position and the pike. So the first one is obviously the cross-leg lift. The next one is cross legs to tucked. So you're going to lift with cross legs and then tuck your legs together, cross them back together and then lower. So we're going to do 3 of those. So in your own time, get yourself set up. Inhale to lift, cross, tuck, cross, lower. So we're going to do 2 more of those. So lift, tuck, cross, lower. And again, last one. Lift, tuck, cross, lower. Once you've got the hang of that one, we can then go to the full L-sit extension. So from here, we're going to cross our legs in that lifted. So when we lift, we're going to cross our legs. We're going to tuck them and then extend the legs. So option 1 is to simply inhale to lift, tuck, and extend one leg, come back, extend the other leg, come back, cross and tuck, or even cross, return to the floor, come back up and do the other leg. Or you can do both legs together. So we're going to inhale to lift, tuck, extend, tuck, cross, and down. So you're going to do 2 more of those with me now, whichever variation you want. If you're doing the alternating legs, remember to do equal reps on both sides. So inhale to lift, tuck, extend, tuck, cross, lower. Last one, lift, tuck, extend, tuck, cross, lower. Well done, guys. So those are the progressions into the L-sit posture. The final one would be to do the full L-sit without any of the crisscrossing and the tucks. So if you want to have a go at that one, set yourself up again with the blocks or with your fingers on the floor so you can just press in. And you're just simply going to start with the extended legs. With this one, think about flexing the toes back towards you and engaging all the way through the legs. So create tension all the way through. And even starting at the bottom of the pose, engaging that core so you're nice and solid before you even lift anything off the ground. You then need to think about pulling the hips back to help us balance in the pose too. So if you haven't got massive amounts of strength, having your legs all the way out in front of you is creating this massive lever that's going to just pull you crashing down. So when you come back, think about pulling those feet back as well. So setting yourself up on the mat again with those blocks. Remember, at mid-thigh position, you're going to set yourself up and you're simply going to lift like so, hold, and then lower. So if you noticed on that one, my hips go back much further than when I was in that tucked position. So if you want to give them a go for another 3 goes, you might find that your legs are cramping up like mine. Drink lots of water, guys, because that often is the cause of cramp. Press into the ground, think about engaging again, and then when you're ready, lift, and then lower. And you can shake it off, and then do one more. So engage, set yourself up, and when you're ready, lift, and then lower. And that is how you do an L-sit. Obviously, as you get better, ditch the blocks, and you can start lifting higher, holding longer, and transitioning into other poses as well. So there's endless possibilities with this movement. So it's a really good skill to learn. Thanks for joining me on the mat today. I'll see you again soon.